Hey guys, I don't know about you, but my islands don't come as a place where I feel organized and ready to begin that grind to 3 stars. I'm going to show you how I managed to do that all in one sitting. So if that sounds good to you guys, let's get into it. If you have just found me, welcome in. I'm April Honey, and I make Animal Crossing and other cozy gaming content right here on my little corner of the internet. And the first thing that I do when I start an island is I cut down all of the trees and I pick up all of the stumps and I create a very empty space in the front of the island. This is for quite a few things. If I'm not quite sure what the theme is, it gives me a space to set up a mood board. It gives me space to make custom designs and test them out. It just gives me space pretty much. Right before I did this, I time jumped one single day and I went to a treasure island because that opened up the airport. I got the 3 different kinds of wood and iron nuggets to give to Timmy in order to open up Nook's cranny, and I set that down. I caught the 5 fish or 5 or bugs or whatever. I gave those to Tom Nook so that I could get Blather's tent, and I set that down. Then I time traveled one more day in order for those buildings to be there and started cleaning up the island. The only thing that I'm not showing you was the process, which took me about 5 minutes, honestly. It didn't take that long at all. So right after that, I started cutting down trees, I started picking up wood and doing all of those things and cleaning up my island so that I could have my nice blank palette. This entire process of cutting down the trees and picking up all the stumps takes about 15 minutes. It's not a long process at all, so it's not very time consuming, and it's just really easy to do. Just pick up the weeds as you go along and everything looks nice and pretty in the front of your island, and it really does help to just kind of get a feel for what you want your entrance to be and start planning. It's really hard to plan when you see a bunch of trees and messiness. And I like to have my island cleaned first and then turn around and set it up at however I want. But I like to have my island nice and organized when I get started. So that way I don't feel any intimidation every time I start a build, like, oh my gosh, I got to clear out this island area just so that I can make a build. I like to do that all in advance, and then that way when I make my builds, there's nothing to do beforehand to set it up. I always have everything kind of ready. The next thing I do is I go into the tent and I start ordering from Nook Shopping. It's always very convenient to order 5 things a day in the very beginning of the game so that you can have the Nook Shopping app on your phone and you can order whenever you want from wherever you want on the island. I also went to Mr. Nook and I got my house upgraded because, you know, I need storage. That's optional. You can do it or not do it at this point in the game if you want, but I choose to do it. The next thing I do is go visit those boys in order to see Miss Mabel populate. This is the way you trigger the conversation with Mabel so that she can start coming and selling her wares on our islands so that we can get the Able Sisters in order to trigger the all-important custom design portal. We all live by that portal. We love it so much, and I make custom designs and upload them in that portal, so I go and get my other custom designs from my other islands through the portal. So it is an important part of our island planning. So we go ahead and do that, and I also make my very first purchases from Nook's Cranny and get the boys' conversation out of the way, because if you want to know the truth, the dialogue here, I wish there was a way to skip it for when you've already played through, but there really isn't, so we just deal with it. I make sure to clear out the wallpaper and flooring every single day because you never know what you're going to need when it's time to decorate your house at the very end of the game. And then make sure to collect your Nook miles as you go along. Sometimes those Nook Plus, if you don't collect them, they disappear the next time you log in. So you don't want that to happen. You want to make sure you collect all of those as you go along. And just to get all of this stuff out of the way, I go ahead and run around and try to get all of the bugs that I need in order to open up Blather's museum. This all depends on whether or not you're going to have the museum in a tent or if you're going to have it in a building. This is a Valentine's Day island, so of course I'm going to want it in a building because I want it to be a very elegant looking structure on this island and very pretty. So I don't want to see a little green tent, as charming as it is. If you do decide that you're going to leave it in the green tent, when you go to a treasure island, make sure you pick up a swimsuit so before you place that tent, because you're stuck with that location. If you don't plan on upgrading it, you're stuck with wherever you put it. So I do run around, I pick up I grab as many of the bugs as possible. I grab bugs so that I don't feel guilty telling Blathers that I don't want to listen to him tell me about whatever creatures that it is, because for some reason basic manners and my upbringing has taught me that I need to listen to my elders, and Blathers would be considered my elders, and I have a really hard time, if he's very excited about talking about something, telling him no. So I kind of grab a lot of bugs so that way when he's like, if you insist, I'll tell you about it, and I can say no thanks and he looks happy about it, so I don't feel bad. I know it's a personal issue, okay? We all have our quirks. Right after I finish donating to Blathers, I go ahead and time travel to the next day. In order to do that, you need to close your game, go to your Nintendo Switch settings, go all the way down to system, date and time, and then just move that little date over one day and log back into your game. I got really lucky. My good friend Mabel decided to pop in that same first day. Mr. Nook is still doing the morning announcements. There's nothing exciting to report there, but I go ahead and get started now that I have the vaulting pole, going over to the other side of the island and picking up all of the trees and arranging them. And I'll show you what I mean by that. If it is not Sunday on your island, be sure to go to a treasure island and pick up some turnips. If not, you can time travel to Sunday and grab some turnips from Daisy May, as I'm doing right now on my island, just on my way to the other side. So also, as I'm heading to the back of the island, I go ahead and stop by Mr. Nook's and I ask him what do you want to do so he can give me the bridge kit and I can go ahead and set that up. You can either time travel to the next day or use your vaulting pole to get across the river and just work on it now. I usually just use my vaulting pole, but you set up the bridge on your way back there wherever you want it to go, and then we get working. And if you're like me and you have our good friend Mabel on your island, be sure to stop by and buy something from her. You need to spend, I think, $5,000, and on the second or third visit, she will ask you to set up shop for her. Okay, I chose to put my bridge here, and then one last thing right before I go to the back and clean my island is that I go back to Mr. Tom Nook, ask him what to do because I already reserved the spot for the bridge, and I get the 3 plots to the first 3 villager homes. I place them down, but I don't do anything with them just yet. The only reason I do this is because you get the ladder recipe when you set down the second plot, and I want the ladder recipe in order to clean the back of the island, so I very quickly place the houses and make a ladder and then head to the back of the island. When I get to the back of the island, I tackle this by levels. On the very first level, we have hardwood trees and we have apple trees. So I take all of the hardwood trees first and I place them in one section after I clear off the weeds so that I can get to them easily when I want to decorate. Then I take all of the apple trees and I place them in another section for when I want to create my orchards. I also put my other fruit trees that I got for Nook Miles there, just to make it convenient, all my fruit trees in one place. Then I go to the top level and I bring down all of the cedar trees and also place them in a section around between those two trees to kind of section them off so the trees are nice and organized and easy to get to later. After I do all of that, I go back up to the third level and I pick up all of the flowers. I move the red and white ones to my beach because those are the colors I'm going to use on this island. The flowers are going to be red and white. I might have some green mums, but that's pretty much it. And I move those to the beach. The yellow ones I keep right now, just until I get that 3-star rating, because I really don't want to take anything away while I'm working on that path to 3 stars. But I also just stick them on the beach. And then when I finish with all of that, and the back of my island looks very nice and tidy, I drop all of the furniture items for the plots 1, 2, and 3 right next to the houses. That way it is all nice and set up for when I need to go villager hunting. I can just put them in the box and get my villagers in, and it'll be nice and fast. So that's it. That's basically everything that I did in order to get my island ready for the first villager hunt and for the race to 3 stars. And it only took me about 2 hours in one morning. So hopefully this was helpful to you. I pretty much like using this method for almost every single island, just because it helps keep me organized. It helps me know what I'm doing. When things are organized, I tend to move a lot faster. So if that would be helpful to you, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.